In the 1980s, a teacher named Rebecca Kaplan wrote a book explaining how to convey the importance of detail, showing, not telling. And she referred to a sentence that read, "The pizza was delicious." This is a telling sentence. It tells the reader you're supposed to think of something or feel something, but it doesn't show you. So when you talk about the pizza being delicious, don't tell the reader that it was delicious. Don't even use that word. Show us. Describe the pizza so that we want to eat it. If you're describing pepperoni pizza, for instance, there's a way that it cooks when you put the pepperoni slices in the oven and they curl up into a little bowl with just a drop of oil in the center and a slight burnt crust around the ridge. And it sits on cheese, mozzarella and cheddar, that kind of milky white and that yellow that stretches and congeals, gets erupted by little bits of tomato sauce coming through the layers of cheese, all surrounded by a golden crust that has little bumps like the Himalayas. You should describe the pizza, in other words, in such a way that we get hungry. We want the pizza, so that you don't have to tell us it was delicious. We arrive at the conclusion that it must be delicious. In part one, I talked about the importance of using stories and avoiding abstract statements. You want to be as specific as you can in all your details. So the same way that a story gives the reader a sense of your personality, details give the reader a sense of place or behavior of particular individuals. In the ladder of abstraction, we find the more generalized statements at the top. But at the bottom, when we get more specific, we find those details that enable the reader to see what you have seen and to hear and to experience what you have experienced. This idea is wonderfully illustrated in this movie, Blue Car. In this scene, the teacher is working with a student on a poem that she wants to enter into a competition. He points out that it's filled with a number of abstract statements, and in the scene he works to push her to provide more specific and concrete details.
Great poets touch the hidden nerve. So, we need a map of your nerve centers. If you're going to reveal them in your work, you need to know where they are. It's for later. What was the memory of trees about? You said, I am rust and gravity. What does that mean?
That I felt bad.
Was there a particular time when you felt bad, or you just felt bad in general?
I don't know.
All right. What was the poem about?
My dad. Leaving.
So what happened when your dad left? Was it day or night?
Night.
Did he say goodbye to you when he left? Miss Denning, I want you to write about that day in detail. Write about the weather. Write about what you were wearing, what you were thinking. Be specific. A whole world emerges from little details. For example, when we buried my son, I had forgotten to put in my contact lenses, and I stood over him before they closed the coffin, trying to fix him in my memory. I could see the red from his sweater and his blue pants, and there was a scab on his forehead, that it hadn't healed. It was from a bicycle accident. And I could feel that scab when I kissed him, but when I looked at him, he was out of focus. So when your dad left, what were you doing?
I don't remember.
Okay. Forget that I'm here. Okay? I'm not here. Now, just close your eyes. Where are you standing?
By my window. In my room.
Did your dad leave in a van or a taxi?
A car.
A car. What color was the car?
Blue.
Okay. Go on.
The scene illustrates the importance of detail. Things that we don't think have significance do. Words and images have connotations. Details have a way of pulling us into a scene so that we see it with more clarity, more focus, and significance. We can see this illustrated in this next reading, a profile by Ethan about his mother. In order to convey the impression he has of her to us, he relies a great deal on details. So, stop the tape, read through this, and then circle anything that you find that gives us a sense of her personality. What are the details that communicate something beyond the surface? So, what did you make note of? I think what makes Ethan's portrayal of his mother so effective are all the details he gives us about her behavior or the things that she thinks. I'm looking at the second paragraph where he says, "My mother hates big stores. She firmly believes that they off gas." It gives a kind of a feel for her personality. In the fourth paragraph, I find the description of how she works very interesting. She buys the pumpkins weeks before, energized with anticipation, and the day of the 31st comes home early from the hospital and lays out newspaper on the kitchen counter. You can see the scene he's painting for us. She unwraps the home carving set, a relic from a Halloween box years before, and that's an interesting little bit of background, and sets to work on the pumpkins. She sits like a potter, legs spread wide on a high oak stool, and pumps her foot compulsively against one of the three legs. All of those are wonderful scene-setting details, but they also give us a feel for her personality. And then the fifth paragraph, she is not hard or cold but precise. She doesn't use a pen or a ruler in sizing the top of the pumpkin with a serrated knife and surgically removing a lid of geometric hair. This is the power of detail when we enable the reader to see what we see or to get the connotation of the behavior and action. We paint a picture that's vivid. And as we tell our own stories, this is what's important to convey to the reader what it was like to be there and why these things resonate with us still. That's the importance and the power of descriptive detail. When we first meet someone, subconsciously we begin to form impressions about them. And this can be based on the way that they look or they act, the way they pose, they dress, the way they comb their hair. And it's not even something that our conscious mind registers, but we begin to get a sense of them and their personality. So, here's a little technique. You have a series of images here. When you find one that you like for whatever reason, stop the tape and write down the details. What are those things about them, the face, the dress, anything about them that gives a sense of their personality? Those are the details that you want to convey to your reader. Those are the images that are significant. So now the question, how do we organize this? How do we structure it? I compare structure to building a house because there are three sections, the foundation, the walls, and the roof.
For our purposes, the foundation are all the anecdotes, the descriptive details, the voices, facts if we have those. And as we start to put them into sections, we're building walls, all of which is going to work toward our focus. And that's what the roof is, the thing that we put on last. Because there's something that we want to convey to our reader. There's some emotion, there's some idea, there's something that we want the reader to take away from our piece. So everything should work together to produce that. Another way to think of this is what I call the golden thread. This is a visual metaphor for not only organizing the essay, but keeping it together. If you think about how your essay opens, there should be an idea or a tone or something that you're hitting the reader with, and then that should be felt all the way through. So as we see our example here of the golden thread, this is how we take all those facts and anecdotes and details and we connect them all the way from the beginning to the end. We're going to see this in our last reading, a piece by Jennifer Chapsky entitled Bean Soup for the Soul. And I want you to pay particular attention to what she does here in organizing this piece, how she works the golden thread, how she takes those individual details and description and anecdote and works them all around her one theme. So, stop the film, read the piece, and then we'll talk about it.
There are a lot of things to like about Jen's essay, an essay that successfully got her into the college she was applying to. But let's focus for now on the structure. A number of clear choices that Jennifer made about how she wanted to present the material. She had a goal in mind, and she wanted to contrast the kind of austere academic institution she had attended with the kind of institution she was hoping to attend. So we hear her voice in those mildly ironic passages interspersed with the axioms and postulates and theorems that are such a contrast to the experiences that she wants to have in college. She also has a very clear and strong golden thread. She sets up the story of the bean tray right off the bat, and then turns that into a metaphor that carries all the way through. So by the end, it wraps us up wonderfully and brings us to the point that she wants to leave the reader with. These are the things we can do with structure. The way we present the material is a way to engage the reader and lead him to the conclusion that we have in mind. So these are choices that we make to communicate what is essential about who we are and what we want our readers to know about us.
Finally, the entrance essay is an opportunity. It's the one place in the application process where you can convey who you are, your personality, and why you're a good fit for the school. It's the chance to distill all those experiences, the people you've known, the things that are important to you, and communicate them in a single statement so that those readers will understand why you would be the best fit for their school. So, start your brainstorm. Gather those memories, those recollections of people that you knew, things that you've done. Remember, as we demonstrated at the beginning of this film, good writing can make someone want a pizza. You're a whole lot more important than a pizza, so make them want you.